Please, just stop. Turn off the cameras and just stop. It's not working. Are you so bereft of ideas that out of sheer desperation to replace Two and a Half Men, you're willing to try The Odd Couple again? Oh, wait, of course you are. Okay, fair warning. By the end, this may get ugly. Okay, cut to the theme music. One of my favorite sitcoms of all time has to be The Odd Couple. Growing up, it was a staple in syndication, and I used to watch it just about every night as a kid. Oscar was the quintessential laid-back slob, and Felix was the polar opposite, an uptight, compulsive neat freak. You couldn't get two more divergent personalities, and it's become a pop culture cornerstone and template for numerous sitcoms to follow. I've often said that I have only one acting ambition in life, and that's to play Oscar Madison. Based on the Neil Simon play and later the 1968 movie starring Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, The Odd Couple ran on ABC from 1970 until 1975 and had a total of 114 episodes. Veteran film and television actor Tony Randall starred as Felix Unger, a freelance photographer who was an obsessive neat freak, and also starred Jack Klugman, who was also an accomplished veteran actor, as Oscar Madison, who was a sports writer, gambler, and had some very interesting eating habits. While airing during the same era as MASH and All in the Family, The Odd Couple is often looked back today as being somewhat less controversial. In the late 1960s and early 70s, the topic of divorce was still a touchy subject in the United States. While the Mary Tyler Moore Show skirted around the issue of a divorced woman in her 30s living alone, Felix and Oscar were admittedly divorced and dealt with things like absentee parenting, alimony, and dating after marriage. The Odd Couple, along with MASH, broke from the typical family archetype that most sitcoms had had up until then. The series dealt with divorce in a more honest way. There was often significant animus between Oscar and his ex-wife Blanche, played by Brett Summers, which visibly boiled over at times. Even though Felix would often try to reconcile his relationship with his ex-wife Gloria, played by Janice Hansen, he eventually would meet and form a relationship with downstairs neighbor Miriam, who was played by Eleanor Donahue. Oscar and Felix often casually dated a variety of women, even though Oscar would eventually in season 1 meet the character Dr. Nancy Cunningham, played by Joan Hotchkiss. Of course, no divorced man is without his support network. Felix and Oscar's support group took the form of their poker buddies. There was Murray the Cop, played by Al Malinaro. While not a bumbler, he wasn't exactly New York's finest. Vinny, played by actor Larry Gelman, Speed, played by actor Gary Wahlberg, and Roy, who also served as Oscar's accountant, played by Ryan McDonald, who was written out of the show after one season. The Odd Couple also dealt with a variety of workplace situations. Oscar was always on the verge of being fired from his job at the New York Herald, and Felix was always obsessing over getting the perfect shot and difficult working conditions, and having to deal with things like models, agents, and the variety of things a photographer runs into. The series also featured many cultural icons of its day, including tennis legend Bobby Riggs, comedian David Steinberg, Hugh Hefner, Richard Dawson, and Howard Cosell. But probably one of the most important characters in the series wasn't played by any particular actor, but the city of New York itself. If you've been to New York in recent years, anyone who's grown up in or around the city will tell you that it's a completely different place, and The Odd Couple highlighted just how different a place it was. Two normal guys living in Manhattan, where they often came across things like hippies, swingers, and pornographers. One of my personal favorite episodes is when Felix starts dating an actress who's in an avant-garde play called Bathtub. Throughout the years, The Odd Couple has become a sort of Rosetta Stone for other hit sitcoms, such as Two and a Half Men and Two Broke Girls. In 1982, during a writer's strike, ABC aired a new version of The Odd Couple, starring Damon Wilson, formerly of Sanford & Son, as Oscar, and Ron Glass, formerly of Barney Miller, as Felix Unger. Working without writers, ABC just took 8 scripts from the original series and reshot them. When the strike ended, new scripts were written, but the show was canceled after one season. Desperate to find a replacement for Two and a Half Men, which ended its 12-year run this past February, in 2014, it was announced that Matthew Perry was rebooting yet another version of The Odd Couple. This time, Perry would be in the role of Oscar Madison, who was now a sports radio personality, and former Reno 911 actor Thomas Lennon would play the role of Felix Unger. Other members of the cast include former Kids in the Hall member Dave Foley and Yvette Nicole Brown, formerly of Community. To say the new series is subpar would be, well, kind. The pilot episode and the subsequent 3 more episodes that have followed have been really difficult to watch. You can see the jokes coming from a mile away, and the gags are written as if they're really trying too hard. Everybody's time and talent just seems wasted on this, including Yvette Nicole Brown. She said she took the series to reduce her workload in order to care for her ailing father. And that's understandable, but I still find it hard to believe that she would willingly pass up a 6th season of Community to do this. The ratings for the new Odd Couple have apparently been solid, but it's hard to imagine why. Having The Big Bang Theory as your lead-in certainly helps, but so far nothing I've seen actually gives you a good reason to stay tuned in to watch this. Unless, of course, you really like watching a train wreck in progress. Even though it's an absolute mess, the latest predictions are that The Odd Couple will most likely be renewed. Sadly, Tony Randall and Jack Klugman are no longer with us, but their legacy will carry on well into the future. November 13th shall be known now and forevermore as the day Felix Unger was asked to remove himself from his place of residence. And that request came from his wife. But more importantly, we will continue to ask ourselves if 2 divorced men can share an apartment without driving each other crazy. See you next time.